Hey everyone, it's Samuel.
Hi, I'm Izzie.
And welcome to Plot Hooks, the podcast where we explore the arts of narrative and collaborative storytelling in the world's premier RPG, Dungeons & Dragons. Today in the Prime Material, explaining Dungeons & Dragons to my 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Hi Izzie, how are you doing today?
Good. I just picked some dandelion leaves. I'm eating some right now.
Joy. The amazing things of being a parent. Dandelion leaves. Better than boogers, though.
Oh, my silly dad.
Well, today, you know what we're doing today?
What?
We're going to talk about what Dungeons & Dragons is. And explain exactly, I know you hear Daddy talk about it all the time, but we're going to explain exactly what it is.
Okay.
First, we need to make some announcements. So remember, all of you out there, to follow us on all our social media. You could find us at Plot Hooks on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Be sure to keep checking out Disaster Hamsters, which has now hit Copper bestseller. Thank you all so much for your support on that. And be sure to check out our Patreon, too. All of your support really helps make this creative network tick. And even if it's not financial, just your interaction on social media and all the compliments that we get and just even constructive criticism, everything is great. And we love interacting with this community. Thank you all so very much for everything that you do and being part of the Plot Hooks family. But with that out of the way, let's get into this special episode. Of course, I have a special little guest with me today. This is Izzie, my 6-year-old. She is always curious about what Daddy is doing as far as Dungeons & Dragons. She's done a bunch of stuff, like whenever we were working on Disaster Hamsters, she has several art pieces which she has made of her interpretation of what Disaster Hamsters is. But today, we thought we'd just go over and just kind of explain on the podcast exactly what Dungeons & Dragons is. I thought it would not only just be really cool to document this and to share this, but I thought it would also be helpful because, you know, whenever we're explaining things to children, it kind of just takes it down to the nitty-gritty of what a thing is. And so if we can explain things to kids, then that can really help us show just kind of some of the core things of what makes something what it is. And I think, as of course this entire creative network is dedicated to, the tenet that is most core to Dungeons & Dragons is storytelling. And that is kind of how I'm going to explain it to Izzie today. So Izzie, what do you think of when we say Dungeons & Dragons? What does that make you think of?
I think it's like about dragons.
Mm-hmm. There is definitely dragons in it. It's very fun. You seen the pictures and stuff in the books?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I call a game Dungeons & Dragons because it has a dragon, and yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. Well, what Dungeons & Dragons is at its core, like what it mainly is it's about telling a story with your imagination. You know, just how, you know, dragons aren't real. You know, we have to imagine them. And Dungeons & Dragons is about telling a story with your imagination. So I'm going to tell you something, okay? I'm going to tell you a scenario. I'm going to tell you a situation with words, and you tell me what you would like to do. So picture this in your mind, in your imagination. You're right now in a square room, a lot like the one we're in now. Only this one doesn't have any windows. And there's no furniture, there's nothing in there, it's just a bare room with no windows and just one door. And there is one single box in the corner that's closed. what do you want to do in that room?
Well, I would guess there's some spider webs.
Maybe, yeah. So you would look around for some spider webs?
Oh, I mean, I just picture spider webs on the corners and stuff.
Yeah, you picture the spider webs in the corner. So what would you do if you're in this situation and you kind of imagine that you are the person that's in this room? What would you do? Would you try to get out? Would you try to look what's in the box? What would you do?
I would just be looking. I would be the one and only superhero of all.
Oh.
Wonder Cat.
What?
I would be prepared, and I would imagine there was a big monster spider. Big, really big. Big as that. Oh.
Wow, that is a very giant spider. Well, if, say you're Wonder Cat, this superhero that you want to be, if Wonder Cat needed to get out of that room that didn't have windows and only had one door, what do you think Wonder Cat would try to do?
I'll make the spider dizzy, go round, because I have super speed power, just like Catboy.
Okay.
And then I would use my claws to kill it.
Okay. All right. So you would in this room that now has this spider that we were trying to beat, you would use your claws and run around it really fast and get it all confused, and then you would get it with your claws?
Yes.
That's a great thing.
And my team would be there.
Your team would be there too?
And they would be low. And then bam! Ha ha ha! The bite of the jaw. The bite, Captain Luck. And the jumps of my two little girls. And Lilac. Her kick bounce.
So you know what we just did? We just told a little story. You know, I told you that you were in a room, and you imagined inside that room that you were Wonder Cat. And you imagined that inside that room was a giant spider that Wonder Cat had to fight, and you and your team did something to fight it. So you know what that is? That is called role-playing. Role-playing means, you know, like an actor, like somebody who's in a movie? It's somebody that is pretending to be someone else to tell a story. And that's what you're doing when you're playing Dungeons & Dragons. Remember what I said Dungeons & Dragons is? It's telling a story with your imagination. And so you are there pretending to be Wonder Cat, and you are imagining a story. And you're imagining what's happening. But guess what? In Dungeons & Dragons, it's not just you telling the story. It's about telling the story together with your friends. Because it's not just you who gets to decide with your imagination. It is the person that's in charge of the game. Daddy does that sometimes, yeah. But sometimes Daddy plays. But the person that's in charge of the game, they tell you what's happening. And then when they tell you what's happening, you have to imagine what you would do in that situation. So if I tell you you were fighting a spider, then you already told me what you would do. But guess what? Other people are there too. And so somebody else could say, ooh, if you do that, then I want to do this. And if you want to do that, then I want to do this. And you work together to tell a story with your imagination while you're pretending to be other characters. Does that sound fun?
It's fun. And I forgot to mention one more. Oh, I did mention her, but
something else that's in that room that you wanted to imagine?
Yeah, I forgot to tell my pouncer my kids' names. Pouncing kids' names.
Your stuffed animal kids?
Mom and Cat Pounce. And Magic.
And for context, everyone, these are all stuffed animals' names that she has, that she is now... They have their own personalities as well in this imagination. These are Magic, Captain Black, Mama Cat, those are all names of some of her stuffed animals.
I'm bringing one over. My specialist one. As Mama Cat. And my puppet. My stick puppet. It's me.
Mm. Well, you know, one other thing about Dungeons and Dragons is we have a lot of dice. You know how Daddy has this dice? This one's a pretty one that has a seashell in it.
Yes, we gave it to him for Christmas.
Yeah. You and Mommy gave it to me for Christmas. It was in my stocking, I think. It was a very, very good gift. But do you know why we have dice? What's on the dice? Numbers. You're right. You know how many sides that dice has? How many numbers are on that dice?
No.
Here, let me give you a hint. This number, if I can find it here, this number is the highest number. So that's how many. Do you know what number that is?
20.
Yeah. There's 20 sides to that die. So what happens is when you tell the person that's running the game, which is called the DM, whenever you are playing, the DM will say, okay, so you want to run around really fast. Well, there's some rocks on the ground, and it's hard not to trip. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll a dice to see if what you're trying to do works. So let's say that you need to roll, and the higher the number, the better. So let's say that you needed to roll a 5 or higher in order to run around that spider just as fast as you can to actually beat it. So why don't you roll to see if you get above a 5? Ooh, that's very high. What number is that?
18.
18, yeah. So that means that what you did there worked. And that's the game part of it. You're not just telling a story with your imagination with other friends, but the dice help you tell a story because they tell you if what you did worked. Or if something, like if you rolled below a 5, maybe you tripped on those rocks and the spider didn't get confused. Or maybe you ran into one of your friends. There's different things that could happen if it messes up.
I forgot to tell you, but I can also fly. So I would do the fly speed thing. You know how I get me speeded up? I rub my hands, and if I'm on the ground, my feet go like this.
Oh, wow.
And then
stomping.
And then I fly, and then wow, I go so fast. I have that speed, like the speed thing. That is like Catboy. When there's like a stripe thing that's blue, it happens to me too.
Yeah.
And all of my crew can fly. They can all fly. They have capes.
That is very cool. So, what did we say that Dungeons & Dragons is? What is it? It's telling a story.
Yeah.
With your imagination. But are you doing it by yourself?
No.
No, you're doing it with other people. And the person that's in charge is telling you the story, and you have to react to it, and you have to say what you're doing in that story.
Yeah.
So do you want to try one really fast?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to be the person in charge of the story, and I'm going to tell you something that's happening to Wondercat. And you have to tell me what you're going to try to do. Okay. Wondercat is in the middle of a big city. And there's lots of fires everywhere because there was a big, bad dragon that had been trying to burn the whole town down. But Wondercat and her team has caught them. And now the dragon is standing there in the middle of the street looking at you. And you are standing there about maybe the length of our house away. What do you do? The dragon is standing there, he's snarling, he's like, you can't defeat me. What do you do, Wondercat?
I fly.
Are you going to fly towards him or away from him?
Away.
You're going to try to run away?
I will do that, and the dragon. And then I'll lead him towards a pond, and then I'll get my whole crew, and then we'll get a giant bowl. Big as the dragon, and then pour it on him.
Oh, so you're trying to splash. So you're going to run away towards a pool so that you can try to get some,
pond.
or excuse me, a pond, so that you can get some water and splash on the dragon. Okay,
Yes.
well, let's say that you do that. You run and the dragon starts chasing you, or you fly, excuse me, and the dragon starts chasing you. And you get there, and you get this massive, like, it looks like a giant dunk tank. And you wait there to see if the dragon goes through. And then, right when the dragon goes through, about to breathe his fire all over everything, you try to dump it. Okay, well, you need to roll to see if that works. So roll your dice.
I'll try to get to the highest.
Ooh, what number is that?
16.
16. That is very good. Guess what?
What?
It works. You splash the water on the dragon, and little did you know that this dragon actually has an enchantment on it. And whenever it touched water, it starts to freeze. And so not only does the fire go out, but it starts to freeze in place and stop and slowly turn to stone. And it almost gets to you. Its claws slowly reaching towards you as it's turning to stone. And you just stand there because it stops right in front of Wondercat. And you and your friends just go, yay!
Oh, yay!
You beat the dragon. Great job. See, look, guess what?
What?
You just played Dungeons and Dragons. Was that fun?
Yeah!
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so there's one other thing we have to do for the podcast today, okay?
What?
So what we're going to do is we're going to go to another section of the podcast called The Wilds. And what I'm going to need you to do is to pick out a monster. All right, you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. All right, we're out here in the wilds. And for the first time on this podcast, I'm about to do this completely on the fly because my daughter is on the couch, kind of right next to where we're recording, flipping through the monster manual, trying to decide what she wants to talk about for the segment of the wilds on this week's episode. All right, let's look.
This one? And there's another one.
Ooh.
Go one more page. And that's the other one. Which
This
one?
is just a giant spider. Let's do this one. This one's really fun. This one's a fire beetle.
Oh.
All right, she's chosen the giant fire beetle from the stat blocks in the back of the monster manual. What's the biggest beetle you've ever seen?
One?
How big was it? Like the size of your thumb or bigger, or what was it?
Oh. Size is your thumb.
Size is my thumb. Oh,
The top.
that is a big beetle. Well, guess how big?
It's a rhino beetle.
Oh, yes, that one is quite large. Do you know?
Scary. It scared me.
Well,
Oh.
guess what?
What?
This beetle would be a good foe for Wondercat, because you know how big this beetle is?
What?
This beetle is like the size of like a dog. This is an imaginary beetle, of course. This beetle isn't an actual thing, but this beetle is a huge fire beetle. You see how much he's glowing?
Yes.
Well, he lives at night, and he has a pair of little glands on his neck which glow. He actually shines out light for like 10 feet around him. So about this, he would light up this whole room almost like the light up there. He would completely light it up. And even after he dies, guess what? It keeps shining for like a week. It's 1d6 days. You know, if somebody is going through a canyon or something and they don't have a light source, well, maybe if there's some of these beetles around, they can use one of these beetles as a light source. They can use it to help them see as they're going through a tunnel. Well, guess what? It's small enough that something like a gnome, which is a tiny little critter that you can pretend to be in Dungeons and Dragons. It's something that's about 3 feet tall, kind of like a hobbit in Lord of the Rings. but even smaller.
Like a garden?
Yes, they can look kind of like that. They're a little bit shorter than you when they're fully grown. But this beetle isn't very strong. It has 4 hit points with an armor class of 13. It basically means that it takes a roll on your dice of 13 or more to be able to hit it if you're trying to fight it. And you need to hit it for 4 points of damage in order to win. But really, it's not really that dangerous because it doesn't do that much damage. The main thing it does is it's just really cool because it has these really glowing, hot parts to its neck.
Can I roll?
Do you want to roll and see if you can try to hit it? Yeah, you were rolling good. I need to take you to the next thing. That's an 18 again. Yeah. That is really good.
I can hit him.
Yes, you can. It says that people who are mining or who are adventuring really love to find these creatures because they love to use them as a light source. And I think this would be a really cool thing to throw into a story. Maybe you're in a story where all your magic doesn't work. And so they have to find other ways to be able to see. And using that fire beetle would be a good, cool little way. It would look really cool when you're thinking about it in your imagination to see all these beetles around that are glowing. And it would be really neat to actually use that way in a story.
Hey, but there's another way that we could do it.
Okay.
Rubbing our hands, because that, when we go speed in that line, and the blue stripes that come from us, it's actually glowing.
Yeah.
So you can use it.
Yeah, for Wonder Cat, that's very true. You can do that. But most of the things that you're going to pretend to be can't do that on their own. They would have to use some kind of magic. So don't you think that would be a fun little creature to try to fight and maybe try to use in some creative ways?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about all that we have time for and all the attention span that we have time for. Do you want to say anything else before we go?
Bye. Bye. I'm Mama Cat. I said bye. Bye.
All right.
My puppet said bye.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show, Izzie. And I look forward to maybe playing Dungeons & Dragons with you very, very soon. All right. Well, thank you all very much for listening today to this special episode. We hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, we do.
Remember to follow us on social media. Keep sharing and supporting Disaster Hamsters. Thank you all so much for listening. From all of us here at Plot Hooks, I'm Samuel. Thanks from Izzie and Becca. And we'll see you all again next week for another episode of Plot Hooks.